Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tech Talk with VLink, where we dive into the trends, frameworks, and voices shaping technology and leadership today. I'm your host, Tracy Gardner. Today's episode is all about leadership, specifically how we can foster better performing, more engaged teams in technology through a framework you probably haven't heard of, CAMP, which stands for Connection, Autonomy, Measurement, and Purpose. Joining me is Brian Olynyk, a seasoned engineering leader and writer, passionate about building purpose-driven teams. He has held engineering and product roles at companies ranging from small startups to large international enterprises, giving him a unique perspective on how team culture scales. Through the CAMP framework, Connection, Autonomy, Measurement, and Purpose, he explores how clarity, alignment, and meaningful metrics empower teams to perform with intention and trust. His work offers practical strategies for leaders at every level, from individual contributors to executives, to foster resilient, motivated teams. Brian, welcome to Tech Talk. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here, Tracy. Wonderful experience to be here talking with you today.
Thanks, Brian. Well, let's talk about your recent article on LinkedIn about the CAMP framework, since that's what we talked about in the beginning. It got me thinking about how we lead today in leadership. Let's start from the top. Can you share a bit about your background and what inspired you to create the CAMP leadership framework?
Certainly. So I'm currently director of software development at Bentley Systems. We do infrastructure software, so software that helps you build your roads and other assets associated with that. In my previous history, though, I have a varied career in small startups that you probably never heard of before, all the way to large enterprises like IBM and Booking.com. And I've held a variety of positions along the way, from product management to Scrum Mastery to people management. And I started off my career as a developer. So I'm very well introduced to the challenges that face development teams. And that's where I got started working on CAMP. It was really from what I saw around me. I saw a lot of things happening, and in my career, I've had a lot of leadership training as well. And I started to see a set of common patterns that were arising, and that was the start of the foundation of the whole CAMP philosophy that I'm now embracing.
Yeah, you have such a unique perspective. It's so great to be, talking about it. And let's talk real quick about what CAMP stands for, and give us a little bit about how each of the four pillars came to the forefront for you as essential leadership components.
Certainly. So CAMP is an acronym because everyone loves acronyms to help you remember things.
Mhm.
C is for connection, A is autonomy, M is measurement, and P is purpose. So when we're looking at building the strong fundamentals of a team, be you need to enjoy the people you're working with, and you need to connect with what the company is doing. So that's the basis of connection. Enjoying the people you work with, enjoying the work you do, and feel that there's a real reason for what you're doing. Autonomy speaks to your ability to carry out what you see are the important things to do. So do you have the authority, responsibility, and information to make the important decisions that are right for the business? Measurement is, how do you prove you're succeeding? This is often overlooked, and I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
get into it later on. But measurement is a very important aspect of this, because you would never go to a sports game if they didn't track the score. But
Right.
we ask software
True.
development teams to do the same thing, like every day. It's like, oh, how are you progressing on this, that, and the other thing? And the teams will go, I did a bunch of work and I think it's useful. Is it driving the results that we want or need? That's the important question that needs to be answered.
Yeah.
And then purpose is really, what is that goal that we're trying to achieve? What is the purpose of what we're doing? If that's
Yeah.
not clear, it's hard to say no to any extraneous work that may be coming into the team. And uh, it's just super important, because if you want to be able to focus on something, you need to know what that something is.
True. Well, Brian, why do you think these principles resonate so well in tech environments in particular?
Well, software development is actually a team sport. I
Yeah.
know you see in movies and you hear about portrayals where you get the rock star developer, the hacker who comes in and swoops in and saves the day with like 3 lines of code. And, sometimes that does happen, But if you rely on that for your business, that's actually really not healthy. That leads to
Mhm.
burnout and all kinds of other things and unrealistic expectations. At the end of the day, people want to work someplace they enjoy, and humans
They
are
do.
inherently social creatures. And so we want to create an environment where people can connect, get along with each other, and there's a wonderful experience of solving a difficult problem with someone. It creates a bond that nowhere else can.
I think this just makes so much sense. Brian, let's quickly unpack each of the elements, starting with connection. What does meaningful connection look like in a distributed or hybrid tech environment?
Sure. So hybrid and remote work create an interesting layer to this. At the end of the day, what you want is a connection where you feel like your team members have your back. And that can take place in that can manifest itself in different ways. Does that person telling me the things that I don't know that I need to know in a way that is helpful? Um, and do I actually recognize that other person as a person? Because when you just focus on speaking over the camera, it can start to feel a little impersonal at
Yeah.
times. And so, an important aspect of the remote and hybrid environment is that we need to be much more intentional about this connection building. It's
Yeah.
one thing. There's one aspect of it that on these on camera meetings you make time to actually connect and learn more about the individuals, but it's important for the company to recognize the importance of setting aside time and funds to enable the employees to actually go and make these connections outside of a work environment.
Such
So
a good point. Very good point. And now autonomy is a term often used, but sometimes misunderstood, as you said, kind of said before. How do you define it in your framework? And how can leaders offer autonomy without losing control?
yeah, so autonomy is, from my perspective, really about having the information and ability to do what is most important from your perspective for the company. Marty Kagan's book Empower talks a bit about this. Everyone needs to understand the product well enough to go forward and make the decisions that they need, and that is really at the base of autonomy. Is that you are hiring these people, you're hiring smart people to come in and help solve problems for you. Why would you tell them what to do? That's one part of
Yeah.
it. The other part of it is um, these people also need to be held accountable, and that's
Yeah.
the darker side. I'll say it's not. There's that sounds a bit
But
negative,
necessary,
but
necessary for
necessary.
sure. Yeah.
So accountability comes in a couple of different flavors. One is, are we making the success that we need? So holding the team accountable is looking at and say, are you making the progress that we need for the company? The other happier side of accountability is that, oh, look, you are doing great things for this company. You should be celebrated. And
Yeah.
so without that accountability, autonomy can run wild.
Yeah. Well, and I think celebration is such a key too in that leadership part. You want to be celebrated and not always, you know, not recognized for the great things that you're doing. So very, very important. I recently read your LinkedIn article about measurement. Can you talk about why measurement is often overlooked and how it can be a hidden driver for engagement and accountability?
Sure thing. Measurement is hard, and it's hard for a couple of different reasons. One is that there's a lot of things that could be measured in any given company. If you take the position of a CEO, they could be caring about how much market are they capturing, what does our sales funnel look like, how many new features are we pushing through from development, what are our support calls look like. All of these things that could be measured. And so the role of the leader and the real challenge is, where do you start?
Hmm.
What can we
Yeah.
do to simply start measuring those things to show that we are progressing on the important things that we've said are important? And then it's going to create a lot of engagement once you can do that. Once you
Hmm.
actually say, you know what, here's the thing we care about, it again sets up that filter for the team as well, to saying, you know what, we're not being measured on this, so it can't be as important as this thing we are being measured on. Thank you very much. We're going to have to wait on this. It's not a no, it's a we'll do it in a bit. And
Yeah.
the other another aspect of measurement that's very difficult is it can be really hard to set up some of these measures too. Even if you decide the measurement that you want to look at, just setting it up from a technology perspective can be a real challenge. The
Yeah.
benefit of all of this, though, and I'll give you a bit more of a personal recent example, is I was talking about this with one of my managers, and he had set up some simple metrics for his team to show that like we are making progress on this. And the team came back to him and said, this is the first time I've really felt like I'm contributing to the overall picture of what
Oh,
this does. So it doesn't take a lot, but it does take something, and it can have a huge impact.
yeah, absolutely. Brian, do you use the CAMP framework in your leadership position at Bentley as the director of software?
Absolutely. I often take it into consideration when we're rolling out new initiatives. I'm looking at any any sort of, if there's people struggles that need to be sorted out, I look at it with the camp lens. Does that person have the autonomy? Do they understand how they're being measured? Do we have purpose? And then I'm currently looking at our performance management system as well, with through the lens of camp, being, what are the expectations of our different roles on the camp? Like, as a more senior person, they shouldn't be isolating themselves from the team. They should be embracing the team and helping to build connections across the team. So those are some things that I'm looking for.
Good. Do you have any examples of simple but effective ways leaders can integrate these measures, Brian? I mean, you've been at so many places, like you said, startups, big enterprises. Give us some examples if you can.
The simplest example for any leader to start with is just start your week by looking at what are the important things I need to get done. And at the end of the week, go back to that list and say, of those things, how many did I get done? If you didn't get many of them done, why not? What
Hmm.
stopped? If you did get a lot of them done, awesome. What was the impact that that had? It's important for leaders to show by example these behaviors because it really indicates to the team this is a way to proceed forward. If you want to take this, modify it for yourself, excellent. Here's something that's working for me, and then we'll go, and then that measurement culture will start to build itself up.
Makes total sense. Let's talk about purpose, the last acronym. With tech burnout and disengagement at an all-time high, how do you help teams and individuals reconnect with purpose, especially, and you've alluded to it some over our conversation, especially in roles that might feel behind the scenes, like we want to make sure we're not working in silos.
Absolutely. This is a very common situation I see in teams. They're not quite sure how they're contributing to the overall company. So it's a leader's responsibility to look at the bigger picture and ask the question, well, how is my team contributing to the overall goals of this company, of what we're trying to accomplish here? And if the leader can't easily answer that question for themselves, they need to take the initiative to actually go and ask those questions, seek that clarity, and then
Yeah.
translate that to the team. Because if the leader themselves doesn't understand that, then the team is going to have no clue because they're relying on you to explain it often.
Yeah.
Um, so, really taking the time to understand that relationship and showing the team how their work is contributing to the overall success of the company, super.
Hmm. Super important. And I think one of the other things that's really important is have fun, right? While you're doing it.
Absolutely. Having fun at work, the workplace is really a growing place for community these days that it hasn't been, I think, in history. If you look at where people meet and gather, often it is at the workplace, whereas previously maybe it was at church or whatever social gathering place. So, really being able to have fun at work is an important aspect of it because you also spend a big portion of your life at work. You spend 8 hours a
It
day, right? It's almost a third of your life. Uh,
too much sometimes.
Sometimes, right? Speaking of that burnout situation, right?
Yeah, right.
But absolutely, it's important to have fun. And another situation that happened to me when I was at Booking.com, one of the things that was recognized and helped me really solidify the importance of this framework is that someone came up to me and they said, your team laughs more than everyone else on the floor. What are you doing differently? Why is everyone having such a good time? And
Interesting.
that was a great conversation to have, let me tell you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And it probably made you feel good because that's what you want. You have happy employees. Happy. I always say to my husband, happy wife is a happy life, right? It's kind of along those lines. Um, if a tech leader listening to this wants to get started with camp in their team, what's the first step you recommend they would take?
I hope someone does take this philosophy and try to apply it to their teams. An easy way to get started is just talk to your team
Yeah.
individually or even as a group and ask them some simple questions. More for the individual questions like who do you really enjoy working with on the team? And you could ask the flip side too of like, is there anyone you particularly struggle with?
Hmm.
Do you feel like you can control the direction of that the team is going? Do you have a say in the amount of work? Really speaking to that autonomy point. Are you clear on what the team needs to be doing and how it's going to be measured? Like, what does success look like? And how are we going to tell whether or not we've achieved success? Start with those simple questions, and it will be illuminating what comes out of it. I
So,
went through this process early in my when I was a managing software director at Booking, and I quickly found out that there was one person in particular who wasn't quite connecting with the rest of the team, and it was leading to miscommunications, different challenges, and I was able to actually call it out, work with them and the rest of the team, and sort it out wonderfully well once they all got on the same page.
yeah, it's to solve the problem, and that very, very good. What are you currently exploring, Brian, or thinking about in your leadership journey? Is camp evolving at all, and are there new elements emerging to it?
I hope camp will always evolve. I am passionate about it. What I'm currently looking at is, what is the impact of AI on leadership? AI is all around us. It's obviously like, you can't not acknowledge it. So it's the analogy I like to use is, the carpenter never feared the power saw. So how do we learn to use the power saw? And in this case, it's AI. So what I've been doing is, looking for ways that I can use AI as a platform for my creativity. How can I use AI to give me ideas on different ways of traversing a situation? Like let's take conflict management, for example. You can craft a prompt that roughly outlines the situation you're in and just say, as a software development manager, how would I solve these problems? And it'll list through a bunch of different things for you. I'm not saying you go through and do all of them, or maybe not even any of them, but at least you have in software development we call it rubber ducking, which is just something to talk through the problem with, and it
Ideas?
gives yeah, ideas.
Yeah.
Just let me run this past you, right? I just need to get this off my chest. Sometimes just uh, verbalizing it or writing it just helps that thought process. And so
Hmm.
AI, I find, has been really helpful in that regard, in giving me distinct options that maybe I wasn't thinking of on my own. The important thing to remember in all of this is you can't take the human aspect out of leadership.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we don't want to be doing things like, oh, it's performance review time. Let's just put all the things this person has or has not done and ask the AI, are they a great performer or not? That would be trouble.
Yeah.
But, you know, I see my employee doing this behavior. What are other examples that I can coach them on to increase this behavior, for example, are the opportunities for AI to help out, I believe.
Yeah, AI is just it's transforming and evolving at such a rapid pace, and it can be helpful and it can be scary too. We just need to get our arms around it, I think, a little bit. So, but
Absolutely.
Brian, thank you so much. I Do you have anything else to add before we go? And that's really all I have right now. It's been great.
It has been wonderful. I just want to thank you very much for this opportunity. It has been wonderful to have this time to talk with you about camp, which I'm very passionate about. And I'm looking forward to hearing more tech talks with VLink.
Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing the camp framework with us. I think every leader listening will definitely walk away with something they can implement either today or in the future to help their teams thrive. It's been an interesting and insightful conversation. And this has been Tech Talk with VLink. Don't forget to follow us for more bite-sized conversations on leadership, transformation, and of course, innovation in technology. I'm Tracy Gardner. We'll see you next time.